So on my last podcast, I briefly mentioned that I wasn't expecting to hear anything kind of astonishing or mind-blowing in regards to Marvel's Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con. I certainly didn't expect to hear any Avenger announcements. I certainly didn't expect to hear really anything about Phase 5. So the fact that they showed us Phase 5 in its entirety and its full schedule, and they showed us a glimpse as to what we can expect to see in Phase 6, as well as, of course, mapping out the rest of Phase 4, which will wrap up at the end of the year. Which I want to touch upon that for a second, because going into this Comic-Con, I was obviously interested, I was obviously excited, but there was a lot of chatter, even surrounding some of the big Hollywood trades. Like, I think Deadline reported that Marvel fans should tame their expectations on what, on what they should expect to be announced for this year's Comic-Con. And I think a lot of fans were really sort of holding that anticipation for D23, which I still think we should, and I'll talk about that in more detail later. But in regards to this Comic-Con, there was a lot of reports that nothing crazy was going to be announced. And in my personal opinion, I think that Marvel blew this fucking panel out of the water. And I was completely wrong. And I'm happy I was wrong. I'm happy because I thought that, we'll hear about projects we already know are coming, and we did, but there was a twist, right? Different schedule, and we actually heard about new things as well. But I really thought that this is what I thought we were going to get. I'm almost positive. I was almost positive that we were going to get a Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer. I think everybody, universally kind of knew that was going to happen. I think it's a matter of time. Thor: Love and Thunder is in the rear view, and it's the only film coming up for the rest of the year for Marvel. So that made sense. I think everybody kind of knew we were going to get that. I thought we were going to get a trailer or some kind of announcement for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And we did. Of course, only people at the panel were able to see that. And then I thought, we'll get some kind of teaser for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which there was. Once again, that's exclusive to Hall H. These trailers, I'm sure, let's say a month and a half down the line, maybe a little bit further, we're going to get them obviously at some point, but they have to give some kind of exclusive sort of reason for people to actually show up to Hall H. Otherwise, like, what's the point? I mean, I say that it's a very exciting event. You're surrounded by other fans and stuff like that. So I get the principle beyond that. But in terms of like fans sleeping outside, waiting outside, going through all that effort, there's got to be some kind of like incentive, like, okay, you guys waited out here for this. We will show you first, never before seen footage. And they did that. But for the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, everybody got to see that, which makes sense because the film is less than 4 months away. So that we all could have expected. But that's all I really, really thought about. Even some She-Hulk stuff I kind of expected, maybe some Secret Invasion stuff. Things that are on the horizon, things that are coming within the next year or two. But Marvel, I don't know why I doubted them, because think about it. This was the first panel that they have done since before the pandemic. That's a big deal. That's a very, very big deal. So I don't know why I doubted that they were going to sort of, hold back on us a little bit. And they didn't show us everything, right? For example, when we saw that Phase 6 slate, there was still, I got the number here on my paperwork here, my show notes. They left out, let me find it here. Yeah, there were 8 other dates that were left in Phase 6. So there was dates, like they were on the schedule, but they didn't get revealed. I think they'll reveal maybe not all of those, because then we're going to know Marvel's entire plans for the next 5 to 6 years. But I think we're going to know at least maybe 4 out of the 8 of those dates. So we'll probably know half of those. So there's still a lot of really cool things that we're probably going to hear from D23. But make no mistake, Marvel blew this fucking panel out of the water. And I'm going to address the biggest announcement, out of all of this, the thing that most people really care about, including me. This is the thing that I am the most excited for, of course, is Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and Avengers: Secret Wars. Now, prior to that, a couple days ago, it kind of flew under the radar, but people found out that Marvel officially trademarked these 3 names: Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, Avengers: Secret Wars, in the Multiverse Saga. Now, some people kind of speculated, is the Multiverse Saga a movie? No, it's just sort of like the umbrella that's going to encapsulate these 3 phases, similar to what we saw with the Infinity Saga. That encapsulated phases 1 through 3. So that was the Infinity Saga. Phases 4, 5, and 6 will be the Multiverse Saga. That makes sense. It'd be kind of strange to call a movie the Multiverse Saga, because saga kind of refers to sort of multiple layers, I guess, but... So that was already in and of itself a tease, and some people didn't really take that serious, but that turned out to be the official titles of these films. So I'm going to talk about the multiverse stuff and Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, the thing that everybody cares about. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to sort of start from the top, start from like the smaller things, like, She-Hulk, work my way up. We'll go to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. We're going to cover everything that Marvel covered, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and share my excitement and the things that I could potentially see getting announced for D23. Because I think this is going to segue nicely into that, because D23 is only September. So it's about a month and a bit away. So we're very, very close. But let's start here. So She-Hulk will be the final 2 projects in Phase 4. And I am very excited to hear that, because... Like I mentioned, with the previous Marvel panel, when they mapped out and they showed all the fans this, the next 4 years of Marvel for the newest phase, Phase 4, they showed a little tease of 2 other films are going to be coming, Fantastic Four and Blade. Now, they didn't give official dates for those, but just them showing that, to me, and I think to a lot of other people, that kind of insinuated that, okay, these are going to be a part of Phase 4, but these are a couple of years ahead of like things like Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder. So I was kind of thinking, like, how long is Phase 4 going to be? Because at some point, like, we do need to have some kind of ensemble. This does need to sort of inevitably kind of ripple to something, right? To something, it doesn't have to be Avengers, but I think Avengers kind of makes the most sense. It's the most lucrative franchise in all of Hollywood, right? So I was thinking, like, how long is this phase going to be, right? Is it going to last till 2025? Is it going to be literally half of this decade? So I'm glad to hear that we're wrapping up, right? We're concluding. And I think fans that have been wondering, what is the direction? I think all of those questions still aren't fully answered yet, because we know where they're going, but we still haven't seen the actual narrative play out. But at least for those, that was never an issue for me. I never once complained that there was no direction, because we were looking at an unfinished story, right? These films all kind of flow in a sort of cyclical way within each other, right? Maybe some more than others, like some have more of an impact over other MCU films, but through and through, each of these MCU films, they do play through each other, right? These narratives are intertwined, and it's like a ripple effect. One of these films is like a cascade that will branch off to these other films and these other narratives. They will impact them in some way, shape, or form. That's why they're saying that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is going to take a hard left turn from where the 2 previous Ant-Man films were, and they're going to really sort of kind of give fans a tease as to, like, okay, this is what's happening for the rest of this phase, and this is where we're going. And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with Kang the Conqueror, but we'll get into that in more detail. But with Phase 4, now that we're nearing its end, I think that this phase was very interesting, and I enjoyed it more than others. Now, sure, there wasn't some head honcho of the MCU, but you have to understand that this was dealing with the aftermath of Endgame, the repercussions of everything that happened to the world, right? And it sort of was able to be the sort of plot device to introduce new characters, right? And it's going to forever have an impact on the MCU, and I think that's sort of the subject matter that this phase dealt with, right? It was an opportunity to introduce new characters, and it was an opportunity to continue the story of other characters we've seen, like Doctor Strange, like Thor: Love and Thunder. And I think they did a great job. And through this sort of, navigating through life post-Endgame, they still kind of left the breadcrumbs, like in Loki, like in the Loki season finale, showing He Who Remains, right? We all know that's Kang the Conqueror, but there were that little bit of breadcrumbs. And even in Eternals, right? I know some people, to a certain degree, myself included, are wondering, okay, we know we're going with Kang, we know we're going with Secret Wars, but what are we doing with the Celestials, right? And I think that is also a breadcrumb that will be answered at some point soon, right? They're not just going to leave that, whether that's in Eternals 2 or whatever, that will get answered. And I even think at the end of Shang-Chi, with the sort of 10 rings being a beacon and sort of like a sort of broadcasting to some other location, that might have something to do with what we're going to be seeing in the foreseeable future. So it dealt with the aftermath of Endgame, but I do think that it did leave some Easter eggs and it did kind of hint towards things to come in the future. And Kevin Feige even spoke about that. So Phase 4 for me was not this sort of monstrosity of filmmaking and storytelling across the board. Yeah, fans miss Iron Man and fans miss Captain America, but that's a good thing, right? Because if we didn't miss them, it's like, well, why did they, develop these characters for 10 years? We're supposed to miss them. That's the point, right? Like, if we just ask for them back and they're like, fuck it, the fans want them back, we'll bring them back. And in reality, they probably will bring them back at some point, likely Secret Wars, but they're going to build to that first, right? And when they do come back, it's probably just going to be for a cameo or whatnot, just to kind of honor the fans that have stuck with the MCU, because at that point, it's going to be, the MCU would have been going on for almost, I think, like 16, 17 years, so they want to give, that will come. But you're supposed to miss these characters. But while you're missing them, while you're sort of grieving the loss, obviously they're not real people, but they're fictitious characters that we've grown an attachment to. We're supposed to be introduced to these new characters that we can then develop an attachment to, and even develop an attachment for characters that were sort of more in supporting roles in the previous Infinity Saga, like Falcon, who's now at the forefront. He's going to be one of the main Avengers, and we know that he's getting his own film, right? And he's the new Captain America. So I think Phase 4 was actually very pivotal, and I will not be surprised if in about 5 to 6 years, people are going to look back and be like, you know what? Phase 4 actually wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good. I'm not going to be surprised if we see a lot of people saying stuff like that. Now, look, if you didn't like Phase 4, I totally respect it. Film is art, and art is subjective. So if you just, generally speaking, Phase 4 wasn't for you, my hat's off to you, my friend. No issues there. But for me, I thought it was definitely experimental. Not everything was great. I didn't like Ms. Marvel. I didn't like Black Widow. So I'm not trying to say like everything was a 10 out of 10. No, absolutely not. But there were certainly a lot of highlights. No Way Home, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I know Thor Love and Thunder is a little bit polarizing and divisive, but for me personally, I really like Thor Love and Thunder. So there was definitely some highlights for me. And I think a lot of people will agree and some people will disagree, and that's perfectly fine. But now we know what's to come. And now, speaking of that, we're going to jump to Phase 5. So actually, before we jump to Phase 5, I totally forgot to talk about the 2 trailers that we saw for the remaining Phase 4 projects, being She-Hulk and Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, let's address Black Panther Wakanda Forever first. This was by far one of the best trailers I've seen, not just for a Marvel film, but for a film in general within the last 4 to 5 years. And I'm not being reactionary. I have watched this trailer dozens of times now. It's beautiful. It's emotional. Well, and it doesn't, reveal the whole plot like a lot of these other kind of last couple Marvel films had. I feel like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness showed way too much, right? We kind of knew that they were going to do the Illuminati, but come on, you don't got to show us Professor X's fucking yellow chair. And I don't need to see Captain Carter's shield and the fucking poster. Like, they showed way too much. And even in Thor Love and Thunder, I felt like they showed a little bit too much as well. Not to the same degree of Multiverse of Madness, but, I mean, once I watched Thor Love and Thunder, I was like, okay, I kind of knew this was going to happen. This plot was going to play out the way it did in the trailer. The only thing that was a little bit of a surprise was the Hercules cameo at the end of the post-credit scene. But I'm not going to lie, I already kind of heard about that anyway. So that's sort of my own fault, I guess. But this, they showed Namor. They showed sort of the aftermath of how Wakanda is dealing with the loss of their king, T'Challa. It shows the sort of more intimate moments with the family, how they're dealing with it, because it's going to affect them the most. Obviously, everybody of Wakanda is going to mourn the loss of their great leader, their noble leader, their superhero who helped defeat, Thanos. And I almost cried watching this. It was very, very emotional. And I think one of the things that really kind of built that emotion up in me was the song. And I'm going to download it right now, because that that the music choice in this trailer was great. Visually, this film looks beautiful, and obviously Ryan Coogler is returning to direct this film. Now, this just like, I don't know, the quality looks really, really good. It looks great, and I think this has the potential to be the best film of Phase 4. It has the potential. Now, you could say that about any Marvel film, you know, that doesn't really hold a lot of weight, but I think just the quality, this looks a lot more toned down and a little less goofy compared to the last couple films. So don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people that were saying like Thor: Love and Thunder didn't work for me because it was too funny, right? You're going into a Taika Waititi film, right? These are things you kind of need to expect. Now, sure, if that's just not your style, then okay, no problem. But if you were sort of like blindsided by the sort of humor in Thor: Love and Thunder, then I think you're probably not familiar with Taika Waititi's work. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog in the background. I'm gonna figure out the song here. So Black Panther, Wakanda Forever trailer song. Yeah, like it's like the first thing that comes up on Google. Nope, not All Right, which is a good song, but let's see here. I'm gonna play here for a quick moment. Oh, no. Okay, well, we're gonna forget ads. I fucking hate ads. God damn it. Okay, well, I can't find it. But if you guys have seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. It was this beautiful song, and it really kind of amplified the sort of emotion and tension that we were seeing, because obviously everyone's wondering, like, how are they going to deal with the Chadwick Boseman situation, right? Like, that's... Yeah, personally, I'm of the camp that I don't think they should have recasted him, because I think there's a way you could tell that story in a narrative. Well, a narrative is story, same thing, it's just a different way to word it. But I think that there's an opportunity not to sort of exploit his death or anything like that, but I think that there's a way that they can actually tell a compelling story while honoring not only the character T'Challa, but also the actor himself, Chadwick Boseman, because he was a fantastic performer. Forget Black Panther, the Black Panther franchise. He did that film right before he passed, Defy Bloods, and then he did that film with Viola Davis, which is fantastic. I can't remember the name. I think it's called Ma Rainey's Rock Bottom or something like that. Correct me in the comments below if I was incorrect on that. But he was a fantastic actor, and furthermore, he obviously impacted culture in a very significant positive way, and he's definitely a trailblazer, and he's going to inspire a lot of people to want to pursue just anything. And I think this film is going to honor that. Now, if they decided to recast him, like, look, I wouldn't be, starting a riot with pitchforks and stuff like that. Like, it wouldn't bother me that much, but I don't think that it's a bad idea to not recast him, right? That's just my opinion on that. So that has sort of been the main curiosity. And then among that, people are now asking the question, who's going to be the newest Black Panther? And I think, at least by going off of the trailer, that definitely looked like a female in that final shot. So I think it's either, it could either be Nakia, Okoye, or Shuri. And I think it's most likely Shuri, especially if they want to be faithful to the source material. Now, obviously, Marvel is always going to take liberties. I don't expect them to stay by the numbers with the comics, but it seems like, they might be kind of sticking a lot to the source material for this film. Now, I've heard reports that through this film, Shuri could be the Black Panther, but then moving forward, the mantle could get passed on to somebody else, like maybe M'Baku, or maybe even there's some rumors that T'Challa will have a son with I think Nakia is like his love interest from the first film. Whoever Lupita Nyong'o played, whoever her character was, that her character apparently will be pregnant in this film. I don't know if that's true. That might be a spoiler. It might be not. I mean, it is what it is. And apparently that child will be set up in the future to take up the mantle, potentially down the line with the third Black Panther film or something. Who knows? I'm talking out of my ass at this point. But I absolutely love this trailer. I've been watching it over and over. And then check out the IMAX version of that trailer. It looks so crisp. It already did, but it looks so good, especially the underwater shots with Namor, and even some of the stuff with obviously Wakanda. It looked beautiful. So overall, this trailer, 10 out of 10. I don't care. 10 out of 10. It was perfect. Now, shifting gears to She-Hulk. I'm not as excited as others about this. Now, I think this looks better than Miss Marvel, but this is sort of another situation with Morbius. Now, pump the brakes. I'm not saying this Morbius is going to be better than this, or I'm not saying this looks like Morbius. I mean the philosophy. Because with Morbius, there were so many rumors that we're going to get all these different cameos from different Spider-Man related villains, and that was really the driving force to my excitement for the film, because I really didn't care about the character of Morbius, because I don't really know anything about Morbius. And the same kind of principle applies with She-Hulk, right? I don't really care about She-Hulk. I'll be honest, I just don't. I think the character looks charming. She looks funny. She looks like she's got a lot of energy, and she looks very welcoming. And so, but overall, I'm not really excited, and I don't really care about her character, just to be quite frank with you. Now, my thoughts could change after I actually watch the show, which I'm sure they likely will. But right now, I'm mostly excited to see Daredevil, who we know is officially in the show. There's been reports and rumors, but we see him with this sort of yellow and red suit. And we know that Charlie Cox is going to be returning, of course, as the character of Daredevil. And we know he's getting his own series, which we will talk about. So we know he's going to be in there. There's rumors that Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is going to be in there, and Jessica Jones, and there's all kinds of cameos. So that's really what is driving my excitement to actually see this show. Not so much seeing She-Hulk, and obviously, seeing Bruce Banner as well. I'm always excited to see his character return. And honestly, I'm a fan of Professor Hulk. Yeah, sure, it'll be nice every now and then to see him kind of go, ballistic and just go full on Hulk mode, nuke mode, whatever you want to call it. But I'm actually kind of a fan of Professor Hulk, so I'm excited to see that return. So those are sort of the things that are driving my excitement. Did this trailer kind of, move the needle for me in terms of my anticipation? Not really. So I'm kind of just like lukewarm on She-Hulk so far. But that covers Phase 4. Now let's officially jump into all the coverage for Phase 5. Okay, so I have a list here of every single thing that was announced at Phase 5, because it was a lot. And one thing that I'm kind of surprised about, but it also makes sense, is that Phase 4, or Phase 5 rather, is relatively short. It's only 2 years. It's only 2023 and 2024, and then, it's only 2020. Yeah, it's only 2023 and 2024, and then the beginning of 2024, or sort of like the middle of 2024, is when Phase 6 begins, and then Phase 6 ends in 2025, or I think either late 2025 or at the beginning of 2026. So, but it makes sense because these years are condensed because we have a lot more projects, right? So instead of kind of only having like 3 Marvel movies a year and spanning that across 4 years, not only do we have the 3 Marvel films, but we also have like 2 or 3 shows coming out at the same time simultaneously, like kind of not overlapping each other, but like, for example, when I think, when like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out, I think like literally the day before that was the Moon Knight finale, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so that's sort of like how they're going with the structure. So it makes sense. And you know what? I'm kind of happy because I want an Avengers film now. I'm fucking greedy and I want to see it right away. So the fact that we're getting pretty close now, we could talk about how they could be rushing or whatever. I'm going to talk about that later, but let's go through the list here of all things announced in Phase 5, which like I said, I'm shocked they talked about Phase 5. And then they took it a step further and said, okay, hold my fucking beer, or hold your fucking beer, everyone. We're going to show you Phase 6, a glimpse. But let's see here. So Phase 5. I got my notes here all on order. Here we go. First page. Okay, so starting off, Ant-Man Quantumania, that will be coming out February 17th, 2023. That is 4 days before my birthday, excuse me. Then we got Secret Invasion, which of course is a Disney Plus show that's coming out in spring 2023. Apparently they're doing reshoots right now as we speak for that show. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is coming out May 5th, 2023. Echo, the Disney Plus, the newest Disney Plus series, will be coming out summer of 2023. Then we have Loki Season 2, which I am super fucking excited for. Probably my most anticipated Disney Plus show. Of course, everybody knows how much. If you've been on this channel, you know that I think Loki is one of the best things. Forget out of the Marvel show. It's one of the best things in Phase 4. I just love the sort of world that they built with the TVA. and everything else. And I think they added a lot more depth to Loki's character. And then I think the Mobius character with Owen Wilson was a pleasant surprise as well. He's actually a favorite of mine now in that sort of little world. So moving on. So we got Loki season 2 that's coming out next summer. Then we got the Marvels coming out July 28th of next summer. And then here we got, and this is all in order, obviously. So Blade, we haven't heard a thing about this film. We've heard little casting updates, like the guy from The Five Bloods. I can't remember the actor's name. He's a great actor. He will be in that film as well. So that comes out at the end of 2023, November 3rd. Then we have Ironheart, Disney Plus show that will be coming out. Or actually, no, are these in order? No, I guess they are. Fuck it, whatever. Ironheart, a Disney Plus series that will be coming out in fall 2023. Now it's official. The Ironheart character, I forget her name, she will be introduced, and she will actually have a pretty significant role in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So that's pretty interesting, because so far, any character we've seen that has a new character that we've seen that has been introduced to the MCU has been introduced via their own show or their own, like for the Disney Plus shows. Okay, sorry, let me rephrase. In all the Disney Plus shows, the new characters we've seen, they got their own Disney Plus shows first before we saw them in another film. That's why with Miss Marvel, we got her show first. It established her character. Then the next time we're going to see her is going to be in the Captain Marvel sequel, The Marvels. So instead, they're doing the reverse, which I kind of like. And they're introducing the Ironheart character in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, giving us a sort of glimpse into her character, not fully developing her. And then we're going to get that full development of her character, probably another suit or something. We're going to get that in her show. Next is Agatha Coven of Chaos. That's coming out. It says winter of 2023/2024. So that doesn't seem like they have that date entirely figured out yet. Now, this is big. Daredevil Born Again will be 18 episodes long. Of course, it will be an exclusive Disney Plus show, and that is slated to come out spring of 2024. Okay, so I actually have the dates wrong. Okay, sorry. Let me rewind a bit. So Phase 5 starts next year, and it goes till the end of 2024. So like I said, it's basically 2 years. And then at the very end of 2024, that's when we're going to get, I believe, like I'm getting myself confused here. There's just so many fucking movies coming out. It's hard to keep track at this point. So the end of 2024 sorry, I'm trying to fucking figure this shit out. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to keep going here. So yeah, 18 episodes long for the new Daredevil show. Now, there's been a lot of conversation that these Marvel shows are being... They're too condensed. There's not enough episodes to sort of fully build out this arc. It almost just feels like a sort of a Marvel movie that's kind of chopped up in sections, right? And honestly, among other criticisms that I heard, that most of them I don't agree with, this is one that I do agree with, because all of the shows, in my opinion, once again, my opinion, with the exception of Loki, because I love the finale, I think a lot of these shows have fell flat within the last 2 episodes. And I kind of even throw WandaVision in that. I think the finale was kind of forgettable. It felt very kind of cookie cutter. I love the first, in my opinion, WandaVision, the first 6 episodes, the first 7 are the best. I think 8 and 9 is kind of just sort of was losing itself a little bit. It was just getting a little bit too ahead of itself. But I still liked it. Don't get me wrong. It's not my least favorite Marvel show. It's one of my favorites, actually. But for the most part, generally speaking, I think these finales for these Marvel shows have been a little bit disappointing, especially with Moon Knight. I think that's the one that stands out to me the most, because I was really, really enjoying that show. I think the first 4 episodes, I think the 4th episode of that show, where we get that sort of full kind of explanation as to the trauma that's happened with Mark Spector and Stephen Grant's life, when he has this sort of breakdown, and we figure out everything that they've sort of been hinting at, and they kind of fully flesh out the dissociative identity disorder. That was my favorite episode. Probably that and then Loki episode 6, the finale. Those are my 2 favorite episodes that Marvel has done with their Disney Plus shows. But other than that, I think the finales have definitely been a little bit rushed, a little bit kind of pieced together, a little bit chaotic. So having a full 18 episode arc is going to give them so much time to fully flesh out and explain this new Daredevil, or is it a new Daredevil, or is it sort of like a rebooted version, or is it sort of like, or are they just going to fully just kind of continue his arc from the Netflix show? Now, I do want to finish the Netflix Daredevil show before this one comes out, just in case there is any sort of references or there is any sort of continuation of the narrative. And I do like the show. It's just when it comes to television shows, like it's so hard for me to find the time to fully sit down and commit to these. Movies, it's fine. I try to watch like one movie a day. And that's like 2 to 3 hours, and then that's it, right? One can make the argument like, okay, if you're going to dedicate that much time, you can easily dedicate 2 to 3 hours to watching a show. Like, that's true, but I think for me, I'm more of a movie guy, just generally speaking anyways. But don't get me wrong, I love TV. I've seen Breaking Bad, I've seen tons of other shows, but I do at some point want to try and finish the Netflix Daredevil series. But moving on, we got Captain America New World Order. This isn't really a surprise. We heard that Anthony Mackie had resigned, and we heard that the writers from Falcon and Winter Soldier were going to be returning to write the new Captain America film. So I'm pretty excited for that. I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think a little bit more than others. The finale wasn't great, but it was nice to see Sam Wilson in a pretty comic book accurate, traditional, being faithful to the source material. That was a pretty accurate looking suit. I thought they were going to have some sort of... Sorry, I have no idea what happened. I was just recording and nothing happened with my camera, but the software I use, Audacity, just decided to cut the audio and it just stopped recording me. So, like I was saying, getting back to the topic here, I really, really like Sam Wilson's suit, and I'm excited to see where they sort of continue his arc in his next film. And then the last film of Phase 5 will be Thunderbolts. This one we knew was coming. Apparently the director, I think his name is Jack Schreier or Shear or something. I'm not entirely sure. But we know that film is going to be coming in July 26th of 2024. So yeah, I don't think I said. So the new Captain America film comes out in May 3rd of 2024. So very, very exciting. General thoughts, pretty much all these projects I think I'm definitely looking forward to. The only one that I'm not, chomping at the bit to see is probably Agatha, that one. And then is there anyone else? That, and then Thunderbolts, the concept sounds interesting. I'm going to need to see a little bit more. Gonna need to hear, what characters are going to be involved. So that one I'm more excited for that than Agatha, don't get me wrong, because I think, like I said, the concept, the principle, this is sort of Marvel's take on, Suicide Squad, let's just call it that, for lack of a better term. And but I do want to see a little bit more before I'm really kind of like, looking for rumors and trying to keep up with leaks and stuff like that, like I am for some of these other films and shows. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for Phase 5? What's the one project for you in this phase that you are the most excited for? If I had to pick one, okay, here, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go with 2. Okay, I'm going to go 2. I would probably say Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Blade are probably my 2 most anticipated films of this new phase. And then I think in third place would probably be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I'm also very, very excited. It's almost like a tie between Blade and Guardians in terms of like what film I'm more excited for. But Blade, I cannot wait, just in terms of the talent involved already. Like I said, there's that same actor from, I can't remember his name, from Defy Bloods and a couple other films as well that I've seen. And of course, Mahershala Ali. If you have not seen The Green Book, go watch that movie. And I've been trying to watch Moonlight, because I know he's in that film as well. I just can't seem to find it on my streaming platforms. So, and I've seen a couple other films that he's done as well. He was in House of Cards, and I think he's an amazing actor. So I'm really, really excited to see him play this character. So let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite project in Phase 5, or upcoming in Phase 5? So then Marvel, they weren't done. And in fact, they had 2 huge announcements that I don't think anybody really expected to see. So now, so we're done getting announcements for Phase 5. And I think probably the majority of people in the crowd were like, okay, you know what? Like, they spoiled us already. They're not going to show us anymore. I hope, but they're probably not. And then We got the announcement for Fantastic Four, but I mean, the only thing surprising about that is that's pretty far off. We're not going to get that till the end of 2024, and it's going to be one of the earlier films in Phase 6. So, I mean, that was kind of a surprise, but they didn't get into any details in terms of, like, you know, who the cast is, who the director is, but they dropped the hammer, ladies and gentlemen, when they announced not one, but 2 Avengers films, which is great, but 2 Avengers films in the same fucking year. One of them, of course, was the one that we've all been talking about for the past, 3 years now, Avengers Secret Wars, which will be, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest comic book film of all time. I can't even begin to sort of fathom how this film, first of all, when's this film even going to go into production? Are they going to shoot back-to-back again with the Kang Dynasty? So that is wild. So I'm so fucking excited for that film. But then they said but first is going to be Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. This makes so much sense. We've been getting the breadcrumbs that is Kang going to be the next Thanos, and I think it's looking like I think that's what it's going to be. I think Kang is going to be the main villain. Now, I think he might be sharing that role with possibly Doctor Doom, who is rumored to be in a post-credit scene for Wakanda Forever, but we'll have to kind of see how that plays out. But I think he's definitely going to be the big villain that the Avengers are going to have to kind of return to the fold and kind of come together again to defeat this antagonist who wants to take over time. And I cannot wait. So they announced those 2 films are going to they're going to be coming out in the same year at the end of Phase 6. And the first one, Avengers the Kang Dynasty, will release May 2nd, 2025. And then Avengers Secret Wars will come out in November 7th, 2025. So it's nice. It's refreshing. You know, we've kind of talked about it, but nobody entirely knew for sure, unless you were like tapped in and you had like the crazy sources in Hollywood. Nobody really knew that Secret Wars was going to be the film that we're actually going to get, that we're actually going to build towards in the MCU. But then we got another film that nobody really knew about that's going to sort of, I don't know if it's going to be like the pre-Phase 2 Secret Wars. Yeah, I think Marvel is definitely going to surprise us. I think they're expecting us to think that they're just going to sort of copy that Infinity War Endgame formula. I think that's what they want us to think, so they can kind of throw a curveball at us. Now, sure, I think whatever they do in the Kang Dynasty will sort of, hint or lead to Secret Wars. I'm sure they're going to kind of play into each other since they are releasing so close. But I don't think it's going to be exactly like Infinity War in respects of, like, I don't think, like, half our heroes are going to get killed again or something like that. I just think that would just be recycling a sort of plot structure that at that point we would have seen and known and loved before. But we don't really need to see that again. I'm sure it will lead to Secret Wars, but I think they're going to take a different approach. Now, the Kang Dynasty, right? I think that Secret Wars will... So here, let me kind of break down. I did some research. Here's like a summary of what Secret Wars kind of is. So let me see here. Yeah, I could explain it, but I do a fucking dog shit job of sort of giving synopsises of what a film or plot is. So what is Secret Wars? So the basic premise involves a collision of the Marvel 616 universe with the Ultimate Marvel 1610 universe, or 1610 universe, however you want to call it, which destroys both. So that is an incursion, right? And we've already heard about incursions in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. It's when 2 universes collide, and basically, because they're colliding, they implode on each other and then essentially just wipe out the existence of both as if they never existed in the first place. So it's basically an incursion happening. Incursions are all over the place, right? So pieces of the 2 universes are mysteriously saved and combined with other post-collision universes, creating the battle world. So basically, what that is it's all these incursions happening, and it's like a ripple effect, sort of remnants of all these universes that are kind of destroying on each other come together to form one final universe. And all these remaining characters, all these remaining superheroes from these other different universes all have to fight against each other and battle it out, duke it out for the one final universe, the one final timeline, if you will. And that is what Secret Wars is. Now, sure, I'm sure there's going to be some differences and stuff like that. They're probably not going to call it Battle World. I think what's probably going to happen is it's going to be like a ripple effect. All these incursions are going to trickle down, and all these universes are going to destroy on each other until eventually we come back to only one universe left, being our 616. And I think that's when we're going to see all these crazy fucking cameos with, everybody thought Tom Cruise was going to be Iron Man and Doctor Strange. I think that's when we could see something like that happen. Maybe even Ben Affleck as Daredevil, maybe even the other Spider-Mans returning, and I can't even begin to speculate on the million of different possible cameos that we could get in that film. So that's going to be like the end game of this multiverse saga. And to be quite frank, I think this is going to be triple the scale of Endgame. I think after we're done with this saga, I think we're going to look back and think, wow, we thought Endgame was like huge. And it is a huge event. But I think that Secret Wars is just going to just totally just like, it's going to be fucking crazy. It's the best way I can put it. But then the Kang Dynasty. Okay, what I think is going to happen in that film is what was directly teased and explained all the way back in Loki episode 6, when Kang kind of explained everything that's happened in his past and how he's sort of like, he's sort of like the, I don't want to call it the leader of all the Kang variants, but he's sort of like he's like the sort of end-all, be-all, superior Kang variant left, and he basically explains that there was this big multiversal war that happened with me and all my different variants, and that if you decide to kill me, you are going to basically spark another multiversal war between me, and you're basically going to open the floodgates for all my variants to run rampant across the universe and across the cosmos, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see. I think, I'm obviously speculating. I don't know if this is going to be true or not, but I think we're going to see this multiversal war go down between the Avengers and all these different versions of Kang. Maybe Kang kind of brings help from other, maybe different Kang variants bring help from their respective universe that they've conquered. Maybe they bring their own sort of disciples to help that different Kang variant fight all these Avengers, or maybe the Kangs are going to fight up against each other. It's just like, I'm just going off on a tangent here, and I'm starting to confuse myself, but it's going to be absolutely wild, and I can't fucking wait. Yeah. Now, there is one rumor going around. Now, there's no weight to this rumor. I haven't heard Deadline or Hollywood Reporter, go on about this, is that the first Avengers film, the next one we're going to get, the Kang Dynasty, the one that I just talked about, that will apparently be a Young Avengers film, and I'm going to be honest with you. I really hope that is not the case. I really don't want to see that. Now, I don't want to sound pessimistic because we know nothing. We haven't seen a single trailer. All we know is the damn title of the fucking film and the director, which we will talk about in a second. So this could work, this could not. But personally for me, because at that point, it's going to be 2025. We wouldn't have had an Avengers film for like 6 years, right? I don't think people are going to be rushing to the theater to see some 16-year-olds suit up and fight Kang. I just don't think that's not what people are going to want to see, right? Sorry. So, yeah, I really hope it's not that, but let's get into the director of the next Avengers film, the Kang Dynasty, because now we know who it is. So it's as official as you can get. It's coming from Hollywood Reporter, and if it comes from Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, The Wrap, it's as good as confirmed, essentially. So, Hollywood Reporter, I don't know how they get these sources, but they have now reported, I've said reported like 6 fucking times, Destin Daniel Cretton, of course, the director of Shang-Chi, which is widely considered one of the best Marvel films in years. It's certainly one of my favorite films in Phase 4. I don't think it's the best film in Phase 4, just my opinion, but I certainly loved it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm on board for this. I think this is actually, I didn't expect this because I know that, of course, he's going to be directing the Shang-Chi sequel, of course. And then he's going to be directing the Ten Rings series, which is going to focus on Shang-Chi's sister, who's now, of course, she's found herself as the leader of the Ten Rings. So this guy's got his work cut out for him. Now, there's a couple theories I have as to why this is happening. So let's talk about the Russo brothers for a sec, because this kind of directly relates to them. A lot of people, myself included, have wanted them to return to direct Secret Wars. And I still think that we could be getting that. But I've seen a lot of interviews with the Russo brothers kind of reflecting on their time working on Infinity War and Endgame, and they talked about the sort of load and the mental fatigue and how kind of challenging and exhausting that process was of shooting those films back to back. So I think what we could be seeing here is a very, very talented director and still a great choice in Daniel Desencretin directing the first Avengers film in this sort of two Avenger film lineup. So he's going to direct that first film, and I think that the Russos will be ready to direct Secret Wars. So that way they probably said to Marvel, like, hey, look, we love Secret Wars, because they do. They've gushed over how that's one of their favorite comics before. They've talked about it many, many times in interviews. Hell, even when they were doing press for Endgame way back in 2019, God, that feels like it was yesterday, but it's been years since then. Even when they were doing press for Endgame, they talked about how they would love to do Secret Wars. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They want to do it. Their relationship with Marvel has yet to be a failure. Every film that they've done has been a success. They've generated millions of billions of dollars for Marvel. Of course, they're not the only one that's, that they can attribute that success to, but they're obviously very pivotal key parts of that success of Marvel. So I think it just makes sense. And to be honest, like, you can take risks getting a sort of unknown filmmaker to kind of take on one of these big Marvel projects. But with something like Secret Wars, the weight of this will be like the end game. I'm going to refer to it as that. This is going to be the end game of the multiversal saga. I think playing it safe might be the better option here instead of kind of taking a risk and getting, unless you get a filmmaker like, Steven Spielberg or something like that. But I think taking a risk and kind of getting a sort of, a lesser known filmmaker to kind of take on the Avenger films. I think going with the safer option of going with the Russo brothers to kind of take that last film out, because we know how much they actually want to do it. I think that kind of makes sense. And I think now, like I said, this is just pure speculation. I don't know if this is true or not. I think that Kevin Feige said, okay, you know what? We want you guys to return. We would love for you to direct both films. But I understand, shooting back to back, because honestly, you're likely going to have to shoot these films back to back. If they're only, 3 months separated from each other, you're going to have to go into production for one of them probably by the end of next year if you want to make the schedule on time and have the VFX done in time. So yeah, you're probably going to have to shoot these back to back. So I think that Kevin Feige probably found a way to negotiate with the Russo brothers and say, okay, you know what? We'll find another director for that first Avengers film, but then you guys come back for Secret Wars. So that way you're not going to be destroying your physical well-being and your mental well-being trying to get both of these done. We know they can do it, but of course, mental health is obviously the most important thing. Physical health is obviously the most important thing. So I'm sure they probably don't want to shoot these back to back again. So I think this is a great sort of plan that they have in place. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. The last thing I'll say is that I knew this was going to happen. As soon as they announced these films coming out in the same year, it's definitely jarring, but I immediately heard people saying these films are coming too quickly. It's like the hypocrisy in the fan base is just, it doesn't make sense. It's hilarious. Fans don't know what they want, right? Fans have been begging Marvel, give us some sort of direction. We don't know what's going on. We want answers now. The MCU has no direction, and now that they've announced the Avenger films, now fans are saying, oh, this is too soon. We need more time. It's just like, I don't get it. It doesn't, not all fans are saying that, but I'm hearing a lot of fans say that. It's like, I don't understand this. I don't know. It kind of leaves me just kind of scratching my head. But besides that, and then like I said, Fantastic Four, that will also be in Phase 6. I think it's going to be the second film in Phase 6. There was a previous scheduled title that was obviously an empty slot. And like I said, I'm sure they're going to announce some of those empty slot films in Phase 6 for D23. Otherwise, I don't know what else they're going to announce because they've announced all of Phase 5. So that comes out November 8th, 2024 for the Fantastic Four. So I'm excited to see that. But let me know what you guys think. Are you excited? Was your mind blown when you heard about the Avengers, both of these Avengers films being announced they're going to come out in the same fucking year, which is crazy. And I am nothing but excited. I have all the faith in Kevin Feige. They have yet to give us a reason to doubt them. And I think the future is bright for Marvel fans. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up episode 36 of Unbashful. If you stuck around for this long, I want to thank you for being here. Remember, you can find the show on all audio platforms. Make sure you like and subscribe. Keep up this journey with me as I continue to try and build this podcast and grow this podcast. And everybody, I want to wish you good health, happiness, and everything in between. Have a good night.